even though things felt vaguely familiar to her, she may or may not have known to even create a new identity. It's her case is very odd. Out of all of the readings I did about dissociative fugue, and they're very controversial cases, so it's hard to really understand, but it seems like you drop an identity and adopt a new one, almost like some weird distant cousin of like split personalities. Um so I don't know if because of that, if I believe that Hannah is still living in a fugue state just under a completely different identity. I think more than likely what happened was she was maybe on the brink of a fugue the day she went swimming and went somewhere that was comforting and familiar, which is why she essentially didn't attend her faculty meeting for work. I think she went swimming, and maybe while in the ocean, she went into like full fugue state and was kind of just floating around, probably. I mean, she was floating around in the Staten Island River for a while. At which point, obviously, the hurricane came in and she's been lost. There's a lot of people that speculate that foul play had come into play here as well. There have been numerous sightings on the island of Hannah, several of which have been in kind of more seedier parts of town. As previously mentioned, the mistaken identity of the female believed to be Hannah by police was found in a known like drug house, like in a drug neighborhood. And she was kind of like in some rough shape. The police say that tips have kind of slowed since then, but they're not giving up hope that Hannah is still alive. Babs is a private investigator, believes that Hannah is still alive somewhere on the island. A lot of the locals say that it is completely possible to exist and live on this island and not run into people or ever see them. There's people that live like on the outskirts who just don't socialize with like the main part of the island. It's completely possible. Fugue states have been known to last, up to 3-5 years. However, I think Hannah's coming up on like 5 years now, and given her previous episodes never lasted more than a couple weeks, it's questionable. Now, a lot of criticism has come across her father as well for maybe being a potential trigger. He denies ever having any sort of rift or tension in his relationship with Hannah. He stands by the fact that they had a happy and healthy relationship. I feel like she maybe just wasn't aware of how much stress she was actually under with her family life. I think her parents are kind of oblivious to the stresses that they exposed her to as well. That article that stated that when presented with the question of if she thought her friend was going to hell because she didn't believe in the same religion as her, for her to break down and crumble and cry rather than kind of like talk it out, to me says that religion has weighed heavy on her for the majority of her life, and it seems like she carries around a lot of conviction and guilt for whatever reason. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel bad for her. I myself grew up in a very religious environment, one of which I didn't 100% identify with, and you always feel guilty. You go to church on Sundays and they're teaching and everything, and you want to believe, you want to have the same amount of faith as everybody else does, but yet you don't, and you feel out of place. So I think Hannah in many ways was struggling with that out of place feeling, and it certainly didn't help when she started having these dissociative fugue states where she actually loses what little identity she felt she had. So I feel bad for her, and my heart hopes she's still out there, but my head's thinking that she's probably a goner. But that's the story of Hannah Upp and her 3 disappearances, the third being the one she has not been found since. What do you guys think happened to her? As always, thank you for lending me your ears. If you'd like, again, head over to my Patreon page and check out the bonus content that's being posted up there, as well as news on upcoming episodes, polls, and a bunch of other shit I put on there. Follow the socials at the Vanishing Hour podcast. And until next time, stay safe.